Today we are going through the Evo8, brought to you by Audient. I was looking for something from a client of ours. They had 3 co-hosts and they also had potential to have, a guest on as well. So that's 4 people. So looking for something that needed 4 inputs for a podcast, but was nice and small and didn't require much kind of getting used to. It wasn't overly complicated to use. And I settled on the Evo8 by Audient because it was so compact and it also didn't require much as far as power. So it's just USB into your laptop or computer, quite a small system, but you can get up to 4 channels on here. So today I'm going to walk you through the Evo8. I'm going to give you my feedback as to what the use case for this is and who would probably benefit from using this the most. But before we get into that, I'm going to show you what comes in the box. This is the device that's also in the box. We get just a cable. So this Evo8 doesn't require like other power. It just requires the power when you connect it to the actual laptop, so it can be powered by that, which is really cool. It does mean that it's a very small sort of system. You can shove this in your bag pretty easily. We've got only one knob here. So traditionally a preamp will have one knob for each channel that is there, right? With the Evo8, they actually have like channel 1 and then you move this, channel 2 you move this, channel 3 you move this, channel 4 move this. It definitely saves space, I suppose. It's just a little bit to kind of get used to make sure that you're selecting the right one and it's actually doing the volume for that one. You've also got the 48 volts here button that you can press on for microphones that require that. And then this is your smart gain button over here. So the smart gain, you set this up so that when you plug in a microphone, you can have the smart gain assess how loud, like how much to turn this up based on the input that you're putting in. It's kind of, in my view, a little bit gimmicky perhaps at this point because it doesn't do a fantastic job, but if you're a complete novice that doesn't really know how to set your levels, then it can be a good feature to have. Then over here on the right, you've also got just the headphones 1 and 2, and you can see that they have these points here at the front, as well as a line in for a guitar instrument type thing there. And again, you press that 1 and you can turn the volume up, you press that 2 and you can turn the volume up. So everything is via this knob. Now if we look at the back, we have obviously where the power is. So we've got the power coming in there via the USB, and then we have options to have 4 outputs. So that would be for monitors, for speakers. And then we've got 4 dual inputs here, as in you can either have an XLR or a line in to each of these channels here. So that can be extremely useful. Let's say you've got, microphones for 1 and 2, and then you want to plug in like a guitar, then you can do a line in there, or you could have a stereo channel keyboard to have in 3 and 4. It just makes it really versatile. So for musicians, this is really good to have. And in fact, I think that the use case for this is probably more for musicians, for solo people, maybe a duo that you want to record and you want 4 channels, because most preamps don't have 4 channels. Unless they're a big sort of system. So the Evo8 from Audient is definitely making that easier for you to achieve in a really small kind of package there. And that is what comes in the box and what is actually included there with the Evo8. So for this setup today, we are using a Rode XLR lead. This is 3 meters. And then we are also using the Rode Pod Mic, the XLR only. Because it's plugging straight into the Audient 8, you don't need an XLR slash, like a combo with USB as well. If we know that the setup is always going to be XLR, then just get an XLR microphone. It's so much more expensive to get this in the USB combo, where you can just get this as it is. Also on top of that, we have the Rode WS14 actual pop filters, because the pod mics I find are a little bit too poppy. There's too many plosives, and to protect that, make it easy for people, we always suggest that you get a pop filter that goes on top. These come in a variety of colors, which is really cool because then you can have it look different for each person, and also helps them identify which microphone is actually theirs as well for long-term use. So who do I think this system is for? I really think that it's a very good system for podcasters that have multiple co-hosts, who need a little bit of flexibility in where they're recording, who want things to be nice and small and don't need all the gadgets and all the extra bits that like the Rodecaster Pro 2, for example, has. That has all these, extra effects. It has all these extra channels and all these things that you don't really need if you don't know what you're doing, or if it's just a simple podcast, you don't need all this other stuff. And so for a big extra cost there, it doesn't seem really worth it to me, and it is a big system. Now, competitor to the Evo 8 might be the Focusrite Clarett 18i16. It does have 4 channels, it has 4 individual knobs, it has basically the same stuff as the Evo 8. The processing is a little bit better. Focusrite is known for obviously high quality preamps as well, but the cost is a lot more. So for the Focusrite Clarett 18i16, you're looking at about $800. Maybe you can get it a little bit cheaper than that. That's in Aussie dollars. But the Evo Audient 8 is about $300. So big difference in cost, and it is a lot more compact. So I think for people that are new to the audio recording space, the Evo 8 is probably going to be suiting you better because it is a slightly lower cost. It is more compact. It is a little bit to get used to, just having this one knob and being like selecting individually and then turning it up via the one knob. For me personally, because I've always used things with channels with individual knobs, it's like, oh, I have to remember to change it, That's not a huge deal. And if it's your first time ever using one of these things, then that won't even register on your radar. It won't even be a big deal. I think that it's fantastic for musicians, for solo artists too. Like a little setup like this in your home studio would be really easy to do. You just have an XLR lead just for your microphone, and then you have, a guitar that could be in channel 2. You've got, maybe a keyboard in channel 3 and 4 as a stereo input, or you could have a drum kit, 4 channels of that. You could have one on the snare, one on the cymbals, one on the toms, and then one on the floor, and then that's kind of an okay sort of setup. This is really versatile for not a huge cost. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about the Smart Gain feature. So the Smart Gain allows you to set up your microphone and then plug it in and then select the channel, and then you can talk into it kind of as loud as you're going to and as soft as you're going to, just so that the Smart Gain can then assess what level you should actually set your microphone at so that you don't clip, so that it's not too loud. That's a really cool feature for someone, again, who doesn't really know what they're doing. But I do say for most people, it is better to just set your own gain. But the Smart Gain is certainly something that a complete novice, like a novice person, would probably appreciate. It doesn't do the greatest job. I think that it could set it a little bit higher, but maybe firmware will improve that. So I'm not going to discount this as bad at this point, because I think that it's a cool feature that they've decided to include. The fact that it's got 48 volts means that this system is very versatile. You can plug in anything that needs 48 volts and it will give you the gain that you need. And so I think that it's just a really nice, simple system for people. The only thing I will say is that when I first plugged it in and used it with the pod mic, the gain level was too low. I couldn't turn it up enough. What I actually ended up having to do, which I thought was strange, was the pod mic doesn't need 48 volts, but I actually turned it on like the 48 volts when I plugged it in, and then it's like it got the gain that allowed it to then work, and then I could turn the 48 volts off and the level was then set perfectly. So that was kind of strange to me, why the level wasn't engaging with the Rode pod mic when I first plugged it in. And again, I had to do that for every microphone that I plugged into it, all the pod mics. So whether that's something that I'll talk to the Audient guys about to see whether there's some user error in my case or whether there's something going on there from that regard. Very easy, very simple to set up with GarageBand. Anything that you if you're new to this whole space, you just plug this in, and there are some drivers that you need to install, but it's very easy to use and it is a system that I can see that you would get a lot of use out of. You can also fit this in your bag really simply, shove it in something and then bring it back out, and all you've got are these two things other than your microphones. So I like that as well. It doesn't need a big rack and all that. The inbuilt processing I don't think is as good as the Focusrite stuff, but again, I think for who it's for, this is perfect. So I really don't have a lot of bad things to say about this. The Evo8 Audient is a great option for you if you're looking to record something that is a bunch of instruments, vocals, a bunch of podcasters all in a room together. This is really a system that I can see working very well for you. If you like this kind of content, please hit the like button, subscribe button, you know all the things you should normally do, and leave me a comment. Have you got one of these? What do you think? I also feel like it's pretty sturdy, you know, it's not going to break easily, and I'm just a big fan of that. Thanks for watching, and I will talk to you later.